Hello, everybody. Welcome back to SketchCraft, the podcast. I'm Rob Duenas, graphic artist at Squad. If you're joining in for the very first time, you should know that this is where myself and some friends get together once a month or so and just talk about all the shit we would talk about when we're on the phone. Complain about movies, complain about toys, complain about comics. It's just going to be a total complain fest. Joining in on the Complain Fest are the bots. I see you. I see you all there. We'll get some shout outs. Also joining in would be Mega Potato James. Say hello.
Hey, I got a complaint already. I'm the only one on this podcast with a beard, damn it. I'm the bearded one. You're the clean-cut, good-looking one. All right? I'm a hairy potato. You're the clean-cut one. Oh, shit.
I have a beard. It's actually a pretty luscious beard, too.
Oh, damn you both.
I'll show you a picture sometime.
It's Movember, right? Right? Another day or two, right?
You bastards.
Also joining in with a fashionable beard would be Senor Bacon. Bacon, what's up?
Hello.
James Bacon. James T. Bacon? I like that. I like James Tiberius Bacon. Also joining in would be my sippy cup. Look at this. A nice Superman sippy cup. Oh, look at that. I was trying to get the Wonder Woman one, but they were all out. So, all right. So we're going to start off with quick updates. What we have been up to for the past few weeks, whether it's drawing, watching movies, playing games, whatever you want to talk about. Bacon, why don't you join in first? What have you been up to?
I've been really into Lego recently. I know I didn't put that on the document, but I don't know why I just really started enjoying Lego. Also, now after the trailer, I'm really kind of looking forward to the PS4 Spider-Man game. I don't know if anyone has had the chance to see that trailer. I think it just came out today, maybe yesterday. I'm not exactly on top of that, but
the past 24 hours, I believe Sony had a press conference or like a TGS.
I think it's the Paris Games thing. Paris E3, and there's a whole bunch of stuff coming out of there. Like I play Destiny 2, as lame as a lot of people think it is, but a lot of the new DLC stuff's coming out of Paris, and then I'm pretty sure that's where this trailer came from. Was from Paris, but it's. As far as Spider-Man games go, looks to be kind of taking a cue from the movies, where there's a lot more narrative and there's a lot more character-driven plot than there traditionally has been. I mean, in the older Spider-Man games, I'm sure you guys have played Neversoft and all the way up through the most recent ones. It's pretty much just wisecracking Spider-Man going out and beating the living crap out of his rogues gallery. This one actually. It seems to have cutscenes and story, and it looks fantastic. It looks absolutely beautiful. But I wasn't expecting that, I guess, out of a Spider-Man game. So I'm really looking forward to it.
It looks like Spider-Man Homecoming got a full original game.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, pretty impressive. Brandon, I've been clowning you now for a few years, having got the Xbox One. This Spider-Man exclusive Spider-Man game for PS4. Is it just gonna?
I'm just hoping my good buddy Rob is gonna buy me a PS4 for Christmas, because this Spider-Man game looks amazing. I saw this trailer right now that you guys are looking at today on my lunch break, and I forgot about it until you said it. But yeah, it looks awesome. I like Insomniac. I like the games they put out. I like the stuff they do. It looks and feels like Spider-Man Homecoming. It's got the wisecracking, fun Spider-Man, and it's got that cool Batman Arkham kind of gameplay where you can hit from bad guy to bad guy to bad guy if you multi-tap, move from one spot to another type thing. So the mechanics looks great. Game looks cool. So I'm excited for that. And I'm also excited because I want to switch. So there's a lot of things I'm excited for that I can't have,
See, Brandon's kind of hosed because they're going to put Pokemon on the Switch, and then they're going to have the Spider-Man game on the PS4, and then Brandon's going to have to make some hard decisions. See, what kills me is Brandon gets the Xbox so he can play third-party games that aren't exclusive, like Call of Duty and Rainbow Six. Those are on every platform now. So I just don't understand I don't understand the logic behind it, other than he's just always gotten a Microsoft console. Is that what I'm to understand, Brandon?
Nah, I mean, I had a PS3 a while
The
back.
weakest of all the PlayStation systems.
Yeah, and I didn't like it, and I sold it. And I had a PS2 before that, which I loved, and there was a lot of games that I loved on it. Um, but then I don't remember. I switched to Xbox just because I think I liked the controller, or I liked just the whole online the online gameplay against people. I can't
Wasn't
remember.
for
A lot of
no.
I know, but a lot of my friends. I think my friends also had Xbox, so it was just easier gaming with them. And then now
I
a
don't
lot of
have
people switch
one.
to
What other
PlayStation
friends
4.
do you have? Like
This was
Bacon?
friends before, back when I actually had time to play video games.
Bacon, do you own an Xbox One? Do you?
I do. I do own an Xbox One, and the reason I own it is because most of my friends play multiplayer games on Xbox One. But like over the course of the past 2 months, I've come to a realization that I don't like any of my friends well enough to spend $500 on them to play with them. So like this is the last generation that's going to happen. So next generation, because I mean Sony's really kind of been cracking it out with the fighting games recently, and I'm big into the fighting game community. So more often than not, I just have that hooked up. Like I just bought Wolfenstein, and that's I got that for the PlayStation 4 because that's the one that's hooked to the TV most often. So this is, I think, is the last generation that I'm going to capitulate and buy an Xbox because my friends like to play Call of Duty on Xbox.
Do you own a MacBook? Question, Bacon.
No, actually, it's an Acer.
So I have a
Just a
MacBook, 13-inch one that I write all my Game Cave stuff on, because I like to be mobile. I don't really like to write outside. I write at home. That being said, I love playing the Switch in my bed before I go to sleep. And I'm like, man, I'm never gonna play my. How am I gonna play PlayStation 4 when Dragon Quest comes out if I like playing in my bed? Come to find out, and I've tried this, you can install some drivers from Sony and you can stream from your PS4 to a MacBook, like across your own network in house. So I'm sitting in my bed playing. I mean, it's my laptop, and I got a controller, but just saying, if you ever get a PS4 or if you have a MacBook, I know you can like stream it
That's
to a
crazy. I
MacBook
had
on
no
there.
idea.
Yeah, so it's pretty good times. Yeah, dude, trailer looks dope. Brandon, what have you been up to the last few weeks?
Well, after you left, I had to get my fucking life back together.
Why don't you tell them about why I came down to your place?
You came down to go to the Jesse James Big Dog Inc. Kickstarter launch and eat spicy foods with me. That's why you came down. So,
Right, so I had to go to Phoenix for a weekend, and
mhm.
I crashed on your couch.
Mhm.
What was that like for you? Is it like having
Um,
Rob around?
Rob is great on the internet. Rob is great on the internet. In person, you're good. You're good in open spaces. When you get confined spaces, you're very loud, and it tends to give me a headache. But other than that, you're fine. You're easy to get along with. I mean, we went and got tacos. Those were pretty bomb.
You're
Um,
loud. You know what's funny is I'm only loud
very
because
loud.
Brandon has a chandelier in his apartment that is like 3 feet from the ground, and
Oh, I
he's
love
like
it.
he's just 2.5 feet from the ground, so he doesn't care. But I fucking walk into it, so like half my trip is always just like fuck, hit my head, fuck, hit my head.
You're 1 inch taller than me.
No.
Look, Rob,
But you walk with a hunch, like a like
Oh
a
yeah,
like a
that's 1 inch of
gargoyle,
clearance.
you
That's
know.
you're
1 inch of clearance.
you are 6'2", and I'm just right about 6'1". When we
Uh
take
huh.
pictures together, we're
But
both
you
giant
hunch,
men.
so you actually hunch down to like 5'6".
I leave my shit my
You don't
light
have bad
low because
posture,
I know
Brandon.
I leave it low because I know you're gonna hit it, and he hit it at least 3 times. It was
Very,
great.
very poor posture.
You just hear it in the middle of the night. Someone using the bathroom, and then there's step, 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 cling.
I had to
Son
be
of
an easy house guest, Brandon, because I was just coming in, watching TV, sleeping. And I
a
fixed your computer. It took me 6 hours, by the way,
yeah.
to fix this
Yeah.
fucking computer. Um,
So
what
what I've
else have
been
you
up
been doing?
to is I started and I'm almost done with this Dalzim Street Fighter cover for a commission, which the cover for the material for the Street Fighter cover for Udon sucks. It saturates the hell out of my Copic, so I had to switch to colored pencils. and basically do the whole thing in colored pencil after laying down a really crappy layer of Copics. So it was good for a base layer, I guess, but a lot of colored pencils. So just been working my way through that. And so as soon as I finish that one, I could move on to my Sagat commission for the same guy. And he's been very nice and understanding. And then after that, I have a couple more commissions people want, but I told them they'll have to wait until I can give them okay because I need to get these done first.
All right, and like I said, I had to go down to Phoenix. Just bought a new home, so you can see this is the new sketch cave. I haven't had a chance to unpack any of the stuff there. So if you want to send me Nendoroids, they'll go there. You'll get the Nendoroid featured right there. In the meantime, I've also been getting questions about Game Cave, so I'm going to have to do an update on that soon. But suffice to say, folks, I've been writing. And 6 months ago, I decided to take one last reorganization pass at the story. Just really say, look, when I say it's a video game magazine set, in another universe where they import our games, that when you read it, that is very evident from the very beginning. Not like, well, we'll get there 3 issues from now bullshit. So like I just had to one more pass at restructure and everything. And Bacon, I mean, over the years you've seen me sort of work on this, right? So you can at least qualify that I've been putting in the effort?
Oh, good Lord, yeah, man. With all the concepts and all the copy you floated in front of me, and this is even years ago, this is not recent, I can absolutely vouch for the amount of work that you do and also the level of struggle that this thing has seemed to put you through.
Yeah, well, that being said, it'll come out within the next year, folks. And when I mean come out, I mean like here it is. I mean like regularly. So I got to make an update on that. Also, really quickly, I've been working on some commissions. I thought I'd share this really quick. I too have been wanting to do more with color pencil just because I love working in it. And I had to do some covers from the last cons. I still had a few commissions left over from that. So I did a test. The thing is, these sketch covers, a lot of the material in the sketch covers, they feel kind of like trying to draw or color on a dry erase board. They're usually very waxy. I don't have a very good answer for it. And when you use Copic,
that's a perfect example. Yeah.
Yeah. When you use a Copic marker, the alcohol builds up and then just starts to smear.
Mm-hmm.
Just starts to push around. So I did this test here. Is all using color pencil. So I sketched it in red pencil really quickly, did some inks, and then just did in color pencil. And reason why I did the green here is because I sketched in a red pencil, so I figured if I could get greens to work over a red base, then it'll work. So it came out pretty nicely. So this is this Obi-Wan Old Man Kenobi sketch. This is the red base I'm talking about. And this is where I work out all the value and basic shape rendering. With some inks, and then this is the final product here. You can see, so this is all color pencil. The background is distress ink with the color pencil outlines. And
beautiful.
If you zoom in, dude, it looks really nice and clean, and it's got textures and stuff, and the lightsaber actually can glow now and shit. So I'm pretty much doing all my commissions this way moving forward. And if it just means that I do less commissions, I don't care. So came out really nice. I'm happy with it. Other than that, I got really quick. I got another Megavisions piece to do. So Megavisions is an online digital Sega-based Sega fan magazine. I do all the cover arts. Ashley does an interior piece every issue, and I'm going to be coloring that tonight. But I did a roughie. I can kind of show you guys. This is let's scroll down here. Here's my initial color roughie for the cover featuring the game Berserk. So we can look at that there. Oh, if it ever wants to stop reloading, there you go. Nifty. I actually went back. This is her piece I'm working on. So this is the piece I'm working on for Ashley. It still needs all the rendering. I actually went back and did a second take on that, and I'll show you guys. Let's go to Megavisions, cover, Berserk, Roughie 4, and so slight change, same layout and everything. I'm going to add his arm going kind of like this, and I added daggers. If you look at the daggers, I had these, and then I put his arm because this is mechanical arm that can turn into a gun in the game. So I thought that would be cool. And if you haven't played Berserk, the first came in the mid '90s, and the anime came out in the mid '90s. Guys has a giant sword, and if you're a fan of like Battle Chasers, that '90s comic that's now a video game, that's pretty fucking awesome. You could definitely see Joe Mad, the creator of Battle Chasers, was inspired by Berserk when he created Garrison. Like not Garrison. Who's the main character? Yeah, it's Garrison. Calibretto's Garrison's the main character. He has the big sword, like Berserk. So
Correct.
that's what I'm gonna be doing. And this week we're gonna be doing art tips. So moving right along.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
If I send you something, will you put it on the shelf behind you?
Depends on what that is, Brandon. Depends on what that is.
Know if people send you stuff, if you'll.
It's a giant potato head.
I don't know yet. We'll see. It might be a Mr. Potato. It might be something way worse. I don't know.
We'll see. So, really quickly, let's move to Artist Avenue. And this is where we just sort of feature some artists that we're a fan of. Right now, the Inktober's winding down. I don't really participate in these little art things online where this is Inktober, next week is Copic Timber or some shit like that. But I'm always impressed by what artists, put out. And so, Brandon, you picked a few, right?
I did.
Who's the first one?
The first one is Eric Talbot. He used to work on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for Mirage Studios.
Back in the 90s.
Yeah. So he does, most of the art he posts is all in ink. It doesn't look like he did the full month or he hasn't posted it yet, but since everything he does is Inktober already, it's all ink, I figured it'd be a good one to look at. Plus, you knew who he was. So most of his stuff is already real heavy ink, real creepy kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's real graphic.
Like
it's cool though, man. Like you can see some of his turtle stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Bacon, are you a fan of Eric Talbot? Do you know his work?
No, I don't. I'm really like out of the loop with the whole artist thing. There are very few that I actually follow myself. But I'm always happy to see what you guys point out.
Yeah, well, he produces some pretty cool work. So if you're a fan of graphic art, then he's definitely someone to check out. Oh, there's a cool little alien he's got going on here. That's dope. Awesome. Also, Brandon, you wanted to point out Matteo Scalera?
Yeah. He was working on the Black Science comic book for I believe it was Image. But he also does nothing but ink work. Just nonstop.
Yeah, so this is just regular Tober for most of these.
For most of these. Yeah. Right. But I mean, everything he does is just very, you got a lot of inks and washes and just dark graphicness. So
yeah,
it's just a normal day for them. But I figured it fits in with Inktober since he posts daily.
He does a lot of positive, negative values. Like it's pretty dope.
Right.
I don't really see things this way.
Yeah, those are gorgeous. That Swamp Thing's awesome.
Yeah, he debuted at this con in Italy several years back, and I remember because he started posting, and then like he won like that con. It was like breakout artist of the con. Yeah. So like his career kind of took off pretty quickly. It was dope.
And I'm not usually the biggest fan of the negative and positive art, but he.
Oh yeah, but he's always anything. Yeah, anything he works on, he's a good artist.
It just has that magic to it.
You could definitely see he's incorporated some of the Sean Murphy stuff. Like a little bit of that, because he's at DC now, right? So
I believe so.
But I mean, he's definitely still has his own look, and I like his stuff because it always has like an animated vibe, lots of energy, perspective, and shit, dude. So it's pretty fucking awesome. That's him buck naked, huh? Right there, full Yakuza up there. I didn't know we were getting that, but that's cool. There you go. It's cool, Harley Quinn. It's cool, Harley Quinn. Yeah, dude, this is a great. And so, if you guys aren't following his Instagram, you want to be inspired to get off your ass, this would be a good one to follow. So, good times, good times. Alrighty, let's move into regular news here. And Bacon, you want to pick a topic?
Oh.
Anything. Doesn't matter.
I'm drawing blank. I'm drawing a blank.
Pass me the ball. Pass me the ball.
All
I
right,
mean,
Brandon.
I'm going to assume
Go
Bacon
on.
doesn't have the document open when he's talking.
No. I do have it open. I'm scanning it over. I'm like, you asked me, and I was like, oh shit, and I'm scrolling, and I can't. Let me.
All right, I
Brandon,
got a question for Rob. Rob,
All right.
since you showed your commission you're working on, do you feel as though comic book grading and eBay hurts artists when it comes to putting out these con sketches and commissions? Do you feel as if it makes you more self-conscious of your art, or that you're going to be graded low, or does any of that come into play?
I don't care.
You don't care.
I don't care about CGC. Look, CGC grading to me, it was funny. It to me, it's the modern version of the Wizard Magazine price guide. You remember Wizard Magazine,
Yeah.
Bacon? Like,
Oh, I sure do.
so back in the 90s, before the internet, was a thing, there was like one real magazine where we could get our comic book, news every month, and it was Wizard Magazine. And in the back, they had this price guide that showed you all the, like not all the issues ever, but, a giant price guide for comics, mainstream comics mostly, and some independents. And it would tell you what it was worth. And I very quickly learned that what that guide said and what my local comic book shop was willing to pay were two different things. It would be like this Brigade Special 1 would be worth $35. I couldn't get 35 cents. I mean, there was like a giant disconnect. So now you got CGC, and I've seen people like take books that I've done with really independent books, like maybe 100 copies, and they'll be like, this has a 9.9 CGC. I'm like, but no one knows who I am. No one's buying. They're not. That doesn't. I don't know. I do know that some artists get self-conscious when people send them sketch covers, and they're like, because I was having this conversation with Shelby Robertson, I want to say. He does a lot of sketch covers. He's a dope artist too. And he was saying that, yeah, doing color covers is tricky because you run the risk of putting a nick or an extra blemish on the cover, which can, as far as I'm concerned, which could lower the value. And which is ridiculous to me, because I'm like, if any artist ever drew anything, it should increase the value, unless it's, right. I don't,
So
like,
then that makes him think twice before wanting to hook it up or make it dope looking, because he's afraid that it's going to get a lower grade and someone's going to hate it, even though he wants to hook them up with color. There's a lot of artists.
I'm not going to speak for Shelby, but I'm assuming, Brandon, that's your angle on this one.
Right.
That's
what I'm saying.
Do you care?
I don't care. I mean, I had a person ask me the other day on the sketch covers they bought from me, who bought the guy bought a lot of them, which I really appreciate. That's when I put out my sell and all of them. And he asked me, he said, do you want lead heavy or your full name on there? And I was just like, I mean, to me, it doesn't matter, if he's like gets it graded or puts on one of the comic book websites. But I was like, you can put lead heavy. That's fine. It links to all my stuff. But if he was like, hey, can I get this graded? I wouldn't be offended. I mean, if it got a low grade, I wouldn't really care. I would just be like, well,
yeah, well, I don't. Are they grading me as a human? Like, does this score carry on my permanent record? So I always tell people this: anything I do is not worth much. It's worth whatever you value.
Right.
Like as one famous publisher told me a few years ago, I'm irrelevant. So, I tend to think that, and I'm not being facetious, I'm being honest. Like, there are a gazillion more famous, more talented artists than me. So if you're getting a sketch cover from me, I assume it's because you just dig my art. You really like
you just want the art.
So whatever the CGC is, I just don't. I have a feeling that will all eventually implode.
Well, I see people. There's people that'll get a sketches from what well-known people on DC books at the con we're at, and I'll watch them rush right. They won't even enjoy it. They run right over to the CGC and hand it off. I'm like, man, you didn't even you just. I don't know. I get a piece of art. I cherish it for what it is. I don't need it graded.
Yeah, but that's because people are going to resell it, right? So
right.
Bacon.
So that's what
check this out. I'll tell Bacon a story. So Bacon in the mid '90s. Do you know who Tony Daniel is?
I do not.
Okay, so Tony Daniel currently is an artist at DC. He draws Batman books, and in the mid '90s, there was this point in Spawn, the comic book Spawn, where 1 month for about 3 or 4 issues. Tony Daniel and Kevin Conrad, I believe is Conrad, were going to be drawing an issue, and then Capullo and McFarlane will be doing an issue. It was going to tag team until, I guess, Todd wanted to get caught up on some of the missed months that he had done earlier to
Okay.
get the book. Like, he had this idea that he just wanted to get it. So he got Tony Daniel, and Tony Daniel ended up doing a book called like The 10th and stuff like that. But when he got announced as drawing Spawn, Spawn was like the my two favorite books was Spawn and Bone at the time, and then Savage Dragon. So it's my 3 top books at the time. And so
Those are really good 3 top books even today.
Right. So at the time I went to con, I'm like, I want to meet Tony Daniel. This is gonna be the new Spawn artist. I want to get it. And he's sitting there at this table with Kevin Conrad, and I was like 15. I was like, oh, it's so awesome to meet you, And I was like, can I get a sketch? Which I had just kind of figured I just learned that was a thing you could ask for, because I had no money, and
Sure.
I also had no sketchbooks. I drew everything on blank paper. My dad would copy paper. My dad would take from offices that he did security for, and so I had the comic book backing board, right, for my new issue of Spawn. I'm like, I'll put this in there, and then when the issue comes out, I can have his art and the book together, right?
That's awesome.
And Tony, it was an interesting. I'll never forget this. Tony was really hungover from the night before, and he refused to draw on that backing because he said that I could resell that. That retailers you sketch on the back of them, and they put them on their wall at comic shops and resell them. Which I gotta be honest, the look of like what, the idea of reselling a piece of art that I waited all year to go to the con. I paid my own way to go, which was $20 for all 4 days if you paid in January, or $40 at the door. So it was $20 of my own money, which I was 15. I had no money, which is like a $40 value today, given the mid '90s and the ratio of convert. And he just didn't want to draw it. And I remember Kevin going like, dude, he's just a kid, man. He's like, no, man, And I was like, fuck this guy. Like, for real, I was like, you know what? I'm never fucking reading your issues of Spawn. To this day, I have never read or look. There's this blank point in the book where I'm like, he just set a wrong tone to me, And look, the dude's done quite well with his career, you know what I mean? He's a great artist. But I just remember that moment that, wow, you could resell this shit, and now it's a point at con where most of the guys that are getting commissions from major pros, it's not for their personal collections. It's just so they can go on to eBay and resell them, which drove Adam Hughes to not even doing con commissions a few years ago. Has he stuck to that, Brandon?
I'd have to look it up, but I mean, I haven't seen any recent sketches from a con.
Yeah, I don't even think he does them anymore. He's like, well, I do. I sell them, and then they resell them for like 3 times as much on eBay. To which I say, then just draw yourself 3 of them and resell them on eBay. Create a fake Adam Hughes. Even name the store Fake Adam Hughes. Or I sell Adam Hughes art. You know what I mean? Or whatever. And
well, I mean, that's why a lot of the artists now also have like their own managers who sell their own art or whatever. Their own. They'll just bust out a sketch, hand it to him, and then he'll sell it. Shit like that. But
yeah, I had one of those guys. I called him Josh, and then we saw how that went.
Oh, snap. No, you didn't.
Snap, I went there. All right, so there we go. I don't think CGC matters. Personally, I don't care. I think eventually it'll implode, and it's kind of a goof, but I get it. I get it for things like Silver Age and Golden Age comics. That I would say it's more important to. I don't want to cut you off. What were you saying?
No. So I was just going to agree with you. There used to be other comic and trading card rating boards, and they end up just going away because ultimately they don't matter. And I mean, cons are hyper commercialized. They've always been hyper commercialized. So I get the different philosophies. Some artists are okay with people reselling, some aren't. That's entirely up to you. But
well, for someone like myself who, will perpetually, I think I'll always be in that like indie zone. I like knowing that if you spent money on my art, it's going to be worth more later. Like, I think that means that I gave you a deal, I understand guys who are, way up there in the top, like 10%, he or she, or if these artists, I understand that they go, well, I'll give people a break at cons, but You know what I mean? They really should be charging full price. So like if you know your art's going to resell on eBay for 500, charge 500 at the con. If no one wants to buy one, then don't. Or understand that that's part of the game and then draw yourself a couple. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like to each their own, but the CGC thing, I just think there'll be CGC and 15 years from now there'll be something else. You know, comic like a Metacritic for comics or some shit like that, you know, like
Sure, sure.
Right.
especially when the AI comes out, and it can look at your comic and go, you know, like there's a crinkle in the fucking thing. So, all right, Bacon, you want to pick a topic?
Sure. Can I do can we do White Knight? Can that be my topic?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can go there.
Awesome. So Batman White Knight is awesome. To be very, very honest with you, and I'm not trying to turn the podcast political all of a sudden or, you know, cultural nonsense, but to be very honest with you, based on the title, I thought it was going to be some kind of DC attempt at an SJW Marvel book because it was called White Knight, and that's a derogatory term that floats around the internet often.
Okay,
So
well, let's just hold on that for a second because I'm curious.
Sure.
I never once got that impression. But I am interested.
Here's the thing, though. Here, the literally the only exposure that I had to the book was the name.
Okay, but let's just say that.
I was unaware of the artist involved, and I have since. I mean, I've since researched the artist, and he's pretty much just he's kind of been a straight middle of the road guy, and now he has this awesome opportunity to step up and do Batman, and he's. I mean, based on the first issue alone, like if I had to pick the best comic books of this year, 2017, it would be Mr. Miracle and now White Knight. And I've only read the first issue of White Knight.
Right,
but
let's just talk about the name for a second because I'm interested in
Sure.
this. Have you seen the movie The Dark Knight?
Yeah.
Do you remember them using the phrase Harvey is Gotham's White Knight?
Yes.
That never once clicked with you? Like,
no, but
like the invert of Batman, if he's the Dark Knight, then they're, you know, the face of Gotham should be.
No. That did, yes. I'll admit that particular line of thinking did cross my mind, but because I get really bored at work during the day and I spend a ton of fucking time, ton of time on Facebook, and I am exposed to such a wide variety of dumpster fires on a daily basis, that's not necessarily the first place my head goes.
The universe doesn't exist prior to 2016 at this point, right? Like 2008 is too long ago for you to remember.
Yeah, and I fall into the trap. I fall into the trap, and hey, that's why I get made fun of.
Well, it's called White Knight because Joker is like the hero of this story, essentially. And I'm interested that I do think that perhaps I get why he, it's an invert. One of the storytelling technique is take expectations and invert them. It's kind of it's a very simple storytelling technique that works really well. It's timeless. Maybe if it had been called Batman, like Joker, the White Knight, you know what I mean, or something like that, you wouldn't have thought. Right,
you're right, but I think that would say damned if you do, damned if you don't. You call it White Knight, you call it Batman White Knight, and I don't want to read the book. You call it Joker White Knight, and you totally blow the premise of the book in the title.
Or it doesn't sell as much because it's like a Joker book, right? And Batman sells.
Right.
Interesting. So you really like the book, though?
I was floored. I was absolutely floored. The last couple of panels, especially the final reveal, was like. It was just awesome. I was like, oh my gosh, because, someone sat down and thought to themselves, well, what would happen if, the Joker fan, I don't want to ruin it for anyone, so no spoilers, but what would happen if the Joker discovered X and then they wrote a damn story about it? And this is that story. And so finding that, it's not really a reveal, but finding out what was going on in the final panels with, Batman's tie to the GCPD, I was just flabbergasted. Like, what? Like, no crap. Why hasn't anyone ever written this story before?
Awesome. Brandon, you read the issue, right?
What did you think? I did indeed. It sucked. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was really great.
More
First
like the
off,
shitty night, yo. No.
yeah. First off, the art is beautiful. It looks great. Looks good. He draws a badass Batman. Everything looks just cool and stylized. Um, it points out a lot of obvious shit. Like Batman, he's got his Batmobile going on top rooftops, just tearing shit up, and the Joker's like on just a moped scooter, one of those fucking hoverboard things with the two wheels. I can't think of their name. Whatever. And he's just cruising, and Batman's just destroying shit in his Batmobile, and the Joker's like, nobody's gonna say shit about him like wrecking these fucking houses, like. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, he probably does do a lot of property damage with those big old tumblers and shit. And when in the movies when he's taking out walls and he's crashing in his tumbler, and I'm like, damn, that's true. It points
The
out
story, without getting too into spoilers, but talking about that, I thought it was interesting, like, who's Joker speaking to, himself or us? I almost felt like at that moment, like, what would have been an interesting take on that narrative would have been, you guys, have either of you seen a movie called Nightcrawler?
No.
With Jake Gyllenhaal. So Nightcrawler is a fucking amazing movie. And Jake Gyllenhaal plays, like, he should be the Joker if you watch this thing. But he's a guy, Nightcrawlers are basically these guys who go around and chase ambulances, like wherever there's they listen to the police radio when there's a fucking something real bloody, a gang violence.
So
They
like
go there.
paparazzis?
Well, they go there and like paparazzi. They go there, they film it and give the footage. They sell the footage to news cameras,
Okay.
to TV stations, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, it would have been interesting if Joker was like doing that or something like that, like where his case was being made to Gotham more than just to us, But I mean, whatever. But it definitely kind of had that vibe to me. Let's look at some of the. I'll grab just a couple of the highlights. So this is the cover art, pretty dope. The intro page was pretty awesome. The Arkham Asylum.
It makes me think of if this was a story right before Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, because Batman looks a little bit bigger, a little older, a little more I don't give a shit kind of. So it just made me
the
think
book's
that
not overcolored either because he has a lot of heavy ink, so it's not overcolored. This I thought was a little weird. They did these photo fires, which kind of stand out a little weird to me in the comic. But this is dope. His Batmobile. This is not in continuity. This is what they're calling it, the Murphyverse, or they used to call these Elseworld books. But his Batmobile is definitely a cross between the Spinners from Blade Runner and the animated series.
Yeah.
Batmobile.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of maybe *89 Batman in there too.
Yeah.
A little bit, but this is clear. It's clearly a spinner. If you've ever seen what the spinners were, spinners are the hover cars in the first Blade Runner movie. That's what they're called. And then I thought this was a really great panel. There's this panel where Joker's in Arkham Asylum, like figuring out the legal ramifications of Batman's stuff. So he's just staying up all night in the library. I thought this was really great. And again, not over-colored, right? Because he has such heavy ink work. You imagine if this was like super glowy and
right,
over photoshopped up and stuff. So, really nice book. Fun read. I think for me, like the only thing, and it's such a nitpicky thing, it's like it's the same with The Dark Knight Returns. We felt when it first came out, I felt like this is Batman's future. I thought it was part of Batman lore, This is definitely outside, yet it does reference everything. So
right.
I almost wish they'd bring back the Elseworlds banner for this, but I think it somehow Elseworlds gives it. There's some weird marketing thing where if they put Elseworlds on it, it won't. I don't know why. Gotham by Gaslight sold, but they go, oh, it was 30 years ago, Rob.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This made me think of like if it was an Elseworlds, it could be right before Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, just because of that. The downward spiral of kind of Batman where he just doesn't give a shit. He's like, fuck it kind of attitude. And that's the sense I got in this book. Because in the beginning, he's like, like Batman, that's enough. And he's like, yeah, I'll tell you when it's fucking enough. I'm Batman. I do what I want. So, that's how I see it. So I was like, yeah, all right. This is the downward spiral of Batman. And this is going to send him over the edge. And I mean, even if they did make it a tie-in to Frank Miller's books, I think it would work. Something like that.
Yeah, when they first announced they were doing the Dark Knight 3, and Azzarello was going to write scripts based on Miller's treatment, I was like, man, they got to get Capullo or Murphy. You know, they got Adam Kubert or Andy Kubert, and I was like, fuck. So this looks like how I thought the Dark Knight 3 should look like. You know, the White Knight,
Right.
easily. But if you're a fan of the animated series, it definitely reads like a cross between Miller's Dark Knight Returns and the 1992 animated series. Would you be fair to say that's accurate, Bacon? Like it has like those two kind of like melded.
I would agree with that, yes. And just as a quick aside, you can tell who the writer and who the artists are because I talk about the story and the characters first, and you guys talk about the art first.
Well, I'm not trying to also double over too much over what you said. I would say narratively, like I don't want to give away too much. I would just say there's a couple things I'm like, well, interesting to see where it will go. I would say that for me, if it's all just going to be an invert, like Batman is used to be seen as a hero, and now he's seen as a villain. Joker's seen as a villain, now he's a hero. I hope there's more to it than that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like it isn't just like I'm just going to take whatever you expect as a typical trope and just invert it, and that's the hook of the story. I'm hoping there's actually a bigger turn than that.
Yeah, I don't get that impression at all. I feel like we're going to explore sort of the pathos of Batman and sort of it's kind of like a Watchmen thing. Who watches the Watchmen? It's like, well, you know, Batman. We consider Batman a superhero, and he goes on, you know, punching vigilante sprees on the villains, but we never really actually have stopped to consider that he's not a nice guy, not even a little bit.
There was a series called Shadow of the Bat that came out in 92, 93. And the first 4 issues of Shadow of the Bat was Batman being locked up in Arkham Asylum. And Dr. Hugo Strange wanted, or I think it was Hugo Strange was one of them. Can't remember if it was Hugo Strange or it was someone else. But the director of Arkham refused to unmask Batman until he owned up to his crimes and then, you know, took the mask off himself. And there's this great scene, I think at the end of the first issue where, you know, he basically unleashes every Batman villain on Batman. So like the whole basis of Arkham Asylum is that series, Shadow of the Bat, issues 1 through 3, which I thought did a pretty good job of sort of starting that case. I think the next one to do a pretty good job of showing Batman being mentally fucking unstable beyond resolve is Batman All-Star. All-Star Batman with Frank Miller and Jim Lee, which not a lot of people like, but I still go back and say that is a psychotic Batman. Like, if you want to read a story in which Batman is clearly a person unhinged, that's it. Brilliant. Brilliantly smart, brilliantly clever, you know, a detective, a scientist, a UFC fighter, but unhinged mentally. And I think that series really, people are like, this isn't Batman. He would never do this. I'm like, I think that's what a psychotic Batman would do, though. Like that's definitely closer to the mark. And I think this one gets there while still maintaining. I think it also the story says a bit about the pop cultureness of Batman. So like, you know, the movies, the action figures, which begs to question, how are there toys and action figures of Batman in this universe? Like, where does all that? We're seeing it because we know it, but how do they have all that stuff? Like, it's interesting. So, like I said, there's just certain things in the first issue I'm interested to see how it pays off. We will definitely be revisiting this, right? I think it's 8 issues long.
Just real quick to touch on that. I mean, think about it. If Batman, Superman, if all these people existed in our world, someone would capitalize off them and try to make toys and dolls. And
Logan dealt with that, right? But who was making the comics? Who's making the toys? Right. Are the proceeds going to the victims of Batman? Are the proceeds going to the victims of Arkham Asylum? Like, how does that work? Like, it brings up world building issues that I myself, I'm not willing to kind of go too far into because I don't know if he'll deal with it or not deal with it. I think it would be fascinating to deal with it. You know, like what if Jack Napier was Joker's secret identity and Jack Napier owned a toy company making a bunch of Batman figures? What if, I don't know, or is that just there for us to see? And that doesn't, I mean, I just want to know if the visuals will align with more story or if it's just there for us to see. It's I don't know. That's why I said I don't want to seem like a downer. I'm just confused. I'm a little like, okay, let's see where that goes. I'm hoping there's more to that. It's got 8 issues, so.
I completely didn't even put that much thought into it. I saw that panel and went, okay, yeah, he's obsessed with Batman, and then continued on. I didn't even think any of these thoughts, but now that you're bringing it up, it's like, hey, yeah. So I'm probably going to pay attention a lot more closely to what's going on.
You called me out as a writer, so now that I'm writing, I have to I have to now go, okay, well, I did actually, but you got me on that one. We can take a deep dive here, man. Like that. What's the point of talking about this shit if we're just gonna be like, I liked it, done. I get the horse from Ren and Stimpy to do that. I don't. Speaking of comics, I also got really excited for another comic book that came out last month, based on one of my all-time favorite cartoons ever, called motherfucking Ducktales. So IDW put out a Ducktales comic based on the new version of the cartoon, which I actually really like. And I'm going to bring up the cover art right here. And let's see if it actually loads. There we go. There's the cover art from the new issue of DuckTales. It's cover A. I don't have anything to do with this, so, I'm not like self-promoting. As you can see, it clearly looks like the new cartoon. The visuals are really, really nice, clear storytelling. I'll say this.
Not to turn myself into a liar or anything, but I did read this and I really liked the art. It's not quite Disney. It's not quite Archie. It looks a lot like the new cartoon. I love the way it looks. I could read a series like this forever. It just is gorgeous. It's colorful, but not too colorful. I just like it a lot.
Yeah, and it has a retro, like the old Carl Barks kind of feel comics to it, with a little bit of the modern. I like the halftones they put, right? And the cartoon does all this too. It puts like halftones into this stuff and paper textures. Some of my friends have been like, but it doesn't look like the 90s cartoon. And I'd be like, but if it did, you'd be complaining about that too. Like this doesn't do it any disservice. It looks like a comic, Donald's suit's black. Story-wise, it's well written, but I didn't really feel like this was DuckTales. It felt more like Donald and his nephews are just having having like conversations.
Right.
Go ahead,
I
Brad.
got the same feeling.
Yeah, there was, like when they dress up like the doctors, the 3 kids, and it was kind of funny and cute and stuff, but it didn't. I personally didn't catch me. Like reading it, I was
Where's
like,
Scrooge
man.
McDuck? Where's Gizmo Duck? Where's Launchpad?
Right.
We got a new adventure. There's we're going to go get some treasure. Like, I just feel, man, like, this is one of the reasons why I am on my own book. I had to stop, check myself, and say, okay, I say it's this. When they open up page 1, are they getting that? Or am I like, wait till fucking episode 3 and you'll get that shit? Like, oh, no. And I just feel like it doesn't read like DuckTales. It reads like Donald, Huey's brothers and Donald Duck stories.
It's an adventure comic with Donald and the boys, and that's kind of the feel that I got out of it.
Yeah. So if you're looking for Scrooge McDuck, he's not even in the issue. That's a bummer.
It wasn't like when you had me read Invader Zim, and that felt like Invader Zim. Like that was just it.
I forgot about that. Bacon, are you a fan of Invader Zim?
I'm not a fan of Invader Zim. Candace
shut up.
is, and yeah.
Stop talking. You don't count.
What I meant, but yeah, it's like, shut up, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about.
That's like saying you're not a fan of Rick and Morty.
But if you're a fan of Invader Zim and you read the Invader Zim comic from issue 1, it's like it's Invader Zim. There's no question. But this thing they'll probably get a good 6-7 issues minimum out of this before they start wondering if it's selling or not. So hopefully by issue 2, Scrooge McDuck, Scrooge McDuck's like my favorite Disney character ever. Scrooge McDuck and then Darkwing Duck, are like my two favorite. My two favorite Disney characters of all time are those 2 characters. And you say DuckTales and there's no Scrooge McDuck in there. Man, I was like, I love the way it looks. It's well written. There is a little thing here and there where like the kids want to go out in the desert to go do some exploring. Donald doesn't want them to go, so he gives them a limited amount of water, right? So that they can't go too far because if they can't drink, they'll die. And he doesn't say that, but that's what he's saying. And the kids, they go, water is one of the most essential nutrients. And I'm like, was there a mandate from Disney where they had to teach something in every issue? Like, because it would.
This 1980s cartoon programming.
It'd be great if it was a little more morbid. Like, if we go in the desert without water, we'll die. And then maybe it shows pictures of them dreaming themselves, and they look like chicken bones and like like in their green, red, and blue outfits. Like that would be great. But apparently, I don't think Disney's gonna go for that. But it's a well-written comic, man. You're definitely kid safe. I'm hoping I'm gonna check out the second issue. If Scrooge McDuck isn't in the fucking thing by the third issue, I might write IDW personally.
Nah, man, the first issue should have been Scrooge McDuck and Launchpad racing against Glomgold and Magica to some stupid golden something or other. That would have been an excellent first issue. It would have been. It could have been everything that this thing was. An adventure comic. It could have had, the characters that we love. However, I did like what I read, so
it's well
I'm
put
interested
together.
for the time being.
It would have been fun to see them have to save Donald like he's the damsel in distress. Like Donald's the, like
Yeah, that
help
would have
me.
been great.
Yeah, like put him in a dress and shit. Like that'd be awesome. So, but it's for now. I'd say out of 64 Van Dams, I'd give DuckTales right now a solid 45. And that would go up to like 55, 56 if Scrooge McDuck's in it. So, just if you put him in it. I'm not even talking about so it's well written. Just want more Scrooge McDuck. Let's move on. Brandon, you want to pick a topic?
Let's go to toys.
Let's go to toys.
Toy box.
Toy box.
The section we call Toy Box here on SketchCraft Podcast.
Right. What do you got?
I like the Hot Toys Cos Baby toys.
Cos Baby. Let's see what this is.
It's basically like the characters as if they were kids with giant heads. And I dig it.
It's Nendoroids. It's kind of like the Nendoroids, right? Without any articulation.
So there's different ones and different movements. Yeah, and I think they're funny as shit. I like little figurines like this, that are just, he's got the big head, he's got the big weapons, the big eyes.
I like that they're painting in the inks now into figures, like they're doing more of that, like the ink lines.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And there's a nice amount of detail to them. I think they're funny to look at. There's an Ant-Man one that I thought was really funny, and the Deadpool ones.
I like the Wonder Woman when she's got her World War II hat on and her little dress and the glasses.
Oh yeah,
the face is a little off, the mouths, but that's pretty good.
Then they got next to that one, you got the Batman in the Batmobile smiling.
I like that. He's all happy. Hey, what's up? It's like the guns are actually exploding. Yeah. This one's funny, Bacon. You should check.
So I'm looking at them now. These are great. I love like the Ghost Rider. The Ghost Rider's great. The
Ghost Rider looks pretty cool. That sculpt on the Ghost Rider is pretty dope. How see the skull goes around.
Right. It's got the deep end cheeks and the eyes and everything. So there's a lot of like detail and thought put into the 3D of these. So I like them. I think they're really cool. Maybe like because I bought Pops before and I like Pops, but maybe if I want just something a little different, these are what I would go to. I
like the Spider-Man has the seam lines across his head here. Look at this.
I can't afford the big Hot Toys, so maybe these ones are a little cheaper, I hope. So
they'll probably be like $50, right?
All right, but the Hot Toys normally are like $200, $300, the bigger ones. So these are a good alternative if I want to get one, maybe. But I just think they're cool. They're a funny take on things. And what I first saw was that Batman one where he's in the Batmobile smiling as the guns go off. So I was like, oh, what is this? I got to check this out. So
I like this Ghost Rider that's lit up. They actually lit it because it's got translucent, like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. Nice find. What else? Any thoughts, Bacon?
Looks like $30. $30.
$30?
Oh, nice.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's a really good price point for these. I'll buy several at that.
Can they make a Spawn one? Like that would be great. Little Spawn, little bleeding heart coming out the Violator.
Maybe once the movie comes out.
Speaking of which, I want to talk about that really quick. I want to go back up to some internet news. So
internet news. Doop 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 doop.
So you don't do that every time. That's funny. All right, so Bacon, are you aware that they're making a Spawn movie?
I am. I was following Todd McFarlane on YouTube and Facebook, about it when he first announced it. And when he first announced it, I thought it was a joke, but no, he actually wrote the thing, and they've got a budget behind it. I guess they're going to make it a horror movie. I think was the most recent revelation. I think they said Twitch is going to feature heavily in the movie, so maybe it's going to be like a detective horror story. No one really knows, but yes, I've been following it.
So Blumhouse is going to produce it, and it's been financed for $10 million. It's going to be a low budget, super R-rated horror film, and he's always been describing this movie as kind of like Seven, in which Spawn just sort of appears as a shadow that kills things or something. And I guess Twitch will be like, it was supposed to be Sam and Twitch as the cops. I think it's just right now he's just talking about Twitch being the main character.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's to do with the BBC making that Sam and Twitch series that Kevin Smith wrote a pilot for or something. But now at first I was like $10 million Spawn film. Yeah, at that point, why don't you just make it a TV series? I don't really get the point. But because if it's kind of like a cross between Seven and Stranger Things, I get it. But this came across the news desk. So apparently, and I'll bring this up, $10 million Spawn film coming financed by Todd McFarlane. So he's actually writing the check for the $10 million.
So
this is the actual quote from Todd. I'm spending my own money, so who cares if it doesn't work out? It's a $10 million budget movie, and a studio would just get a 22-year-old punk director. I just want to be the old punk directing it. You know, man, the dude's my fucking hero. Like, you know, at that point, I'm all in now. I'm like, you know, I get it. He wanted to direct it. He wrote it, but he's also self-financed. He's just Image Comicsing his own superhero movie, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, how'd that conversation go? He just went to the head of the studio and was like, look, I'm going to pay for it. I want to direct it. I need a crew. I need the film know-how. I need a production house behind me. I've got a $10 million budget. Will you guys do this with me? And they just went, yeah, sure. Let's go and do it. That's awesome.
Blumhouse, you know, they made Split, Slight, the Paranormal Activity series. They've really been doing a lot with they just Happy Death Day, Murder Day or whatever. It's Happy Death Days in the theaters. It's kind of like a cross between like a Scream movie and Groundhog Day. But they spent $4 million on it. It's made 40. You know, so they know how to get a lot of production value, right? Remember Super 8 production value out of a basic thing. And Todd wanted to write and direct it, so who would let him do it? Blumhouse said. The fact that he's self-financing, I mean, at that point, it's like, well, he's really in it to make a good movie. You know, like he's on the hook, like, you know. But I'll be there opening weekend. I mean, that really impresses the shit out of me, dude. I mean, how many? It's not like you see Liefeld going, "I'll finance the Deadpool movie," you know, like. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
He really put his money where his mouth is. So.
Yeah, I think it's going to be... So now I'm all in, man. I'm definitely all in. Where are we at? We're at about an hour. We got enough for another topic. Brandon, you want to pick something?
Fuck. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Let's go with... Okay, I'll talk about this one. So, me and my missus decided to watch the first couple episodes of The Gifted on Fox.
Explain to people what The Gifted is.
The Gifted is basically... I want to say... It's in the X-Men world, but it's more of like Blink, Sunspot, Warpath, kind of like the ones you don't hear about much anymore type X-Men. It's about these two kids that find out they're mutants, and their dad was a prosecutor against mutants, so now he's trying to help them escape from the law because they're coming after them because mutants are basically hunted down, or they're not hunted down, but they're treated as like third-rate citizens. If you get a little aggressive, they're like, "Oh, we're locking you up." I made it to about the third episode, and I think we started the fourth, and then we just kind of gave up on it. It's not bad, but it's just not. There's something about it that just doesn't make me want to keep going back to it. Like, there's cool moments where you're like, "Oh yeah, they're mutants," you get it, and I'm like, "Yeah, I like Blink," and no, that person's an X-Men character, but it hasn't really caught me where I'm like, I have to watch this show. So I'm hoping maybe I'll go back to episode 4 and it'll pick back up for me. But right now I feel like it's another one of those shows where I'm just like, well, I watched a couple episodes. I gave it a try. on to the next.
Bacon, have you seen The Gifted?
No, I actually hate the X-Men.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously, I've never liked the X-Men. Like, I'm gonna get a lot of shit for saying it. I know I am. I get shit from everyone, but the reason is because I can believe that a genetic mutation gives you laser eyes. I can believe a genetic mutation gives you claws and a healing factor, and even indestructibility to a certain extent. But I refuse to believe that a genetic mutation lets you control the fucking weather or magnetism. That doesn't happen. You broke your own rules. You lost me. That's why I don't like the X-Men. Yeah, I get it. I've probably heard absolutely every last iota of shit that you're about to give me 100 times over, but that's my reason, so you asked.
You like The Flash?
Yes.
You like The Weather Wizard? Just saying, Bacon. Like, I get what you're saying, but we need, consistency.
Well, look.
A wand that lets you control the weather.
DC's heroes are metahumans, okay? It's not a genetic mutation. All right? When you go with biology, when you go with something you can nail down like that, that's where you lose me.
Are you really trying to justify the difference between a mutant and a metahuman?
Yeah. Yes, I am, goddammit.
That's a horrible argument.
All right. Okay, you got me. That's interesting. I'll let you own that statement, Bacon.
It's not a cake. It's a pastry. Like,
for me, it's a different conversation altogether. I believe there's two. I think maybe at this point there might be 3 X-Men universes, right? But let's just say there's 2 for the sake of argument, because it's a little easier right now. And then I'll explain what I mean by the third one. So there's 2 X-Men universes for me, and much like the movie The Matrix, right? One of these X-Men universe has a future and the other one doesn't, Mr. Anderson.
Right.
There's Bryan Singer's 2000, 2002, 2003, whatever, reinvention of the X-Men, the movie cinematic X-Men. And then there's Deadpool, which is a sort of tongue-in-cheek, reverent, can be violent, can be funny, also can have the comic booky superhero stuff in it. And for me right now, the Deadpool version's working out. I'd really hope with the First Class reboot, when they all had yellow costumes, like that was pushing toward allowing X-Men to kind of look more like the X-Men. I'm not saying they have to look just like the X-Men comics, but the way they looked in First Class and the way Negasonic Teenage Warhead looked in Deadpool and Colossus was fucking awesome. Perfect. I'm like, problem solved. And the way, and then the X-Men, the Singerverse, this super, like, we got to really just be depressed about, the mutant thing, and it's all going to, eventually we're all going to kill us and we got to wipe them out, genocide thing, like, to me, had its ultimate payoff in Days of Future Past. And I like to leave it there. And the third thing would be the Logan, where it kind of like shoots off from that, but it's more like this low budget, super hard R version, Which, that's another thing, because even that's kind of meta with X-Men comics actually being in the book, right? And in the book, in the movie. So I just think like The Gifted, like I remember they tried to put the X in the I to show you it's an X-Men show. It should have just been.
Oh, it's in every show title as well.
It should have just been called Generation Next or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just got a dumb name, dude. That doesn't say X-Men to me. It's almost like I almost feel like they weren't certain if they, how do I say this? I feel like they weren't certain if it was going to be good enough to call it X-Men, so we'll call it something else in case it isn't. Like, or they maybe they had to pay money if, I don't know. I don't fucking know, man. Like,
every X book, they're called X books because they all have an X in the damn title. And I'm sure, if I remember correctly, Generation Next actually used to be a Marvel comic title.
Yeah.
And it could be that they just didn't have the license.
And a real shitty 1996 made-for-TV movie on Fox, if you haven't seen it.
Great.
Brandon loved that movie. Brandon loved it, dude. It's horrible. It's horrible. Like, it is.
Oh, no, I tried rewatching it the other day on YouTube, and it was so bad. It was so bad rewatching it as an adult.
Generation Next makes the Misfits of Science look like the Watchmen. And I'm talking about the movie, not the comic. But it would have been a great opportunity to do a TV. Look, I think the X-Men work better as a TV series than a movie series. You want my opinion? I think a movie series, I really do. I think like X-Men on Netflix would be amazing. You know, like you could do Age of Apocalypse. They don't. I mean, they could do so many fucking things. It's just I don't know, man. Like
just to tell you a feel on this show, The Gifted, Bryan Singer, okay, and Simon Kingberg and Jeff Lowe were all producers on the show.
Yeah, I know. You know, Bacon Kinberg's writing and directing the new X-Men Dark Phoenix movie. And
Which is already done, right?
Well, that's what I want to talk about. So they just announced that they finished wrapping up Deadpool 2. Oh, and by the way, we also finished X-Men Dark Phoenix. And I'm like, what? They were shooting that? I'm like, no one, there wasn't one photo of someone on set skateboarding. Nothing. Like, where they shoot this thing? All on green screen somewhere? Like,
oh yeah.
I don't know, man. Like,
yeah, man. If there aren't any production photos, that's a huge red flag,
right? Right. I mean, Bacon did a little PA work in Hollywood for a while, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's always production photos. Always, always, always. Even if it's just a straight to TV, Lifetime movie, there are always production photos. It's always urgent, and they always have to be distributed. If there are no production photos, or they haven't been shared yet, and they've wrapped the film, that's a real big red flag.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. I'm looking forward to Deadpool. The New Mutants trailer looked fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, that looks cool.
And Drew Goddard writing and directing X-Force. If it happens, it's fucking
gonna be dope.
I don't care about this Dark Phoenix, Gifted, Singer, Kinberg, X-Men Apocalypse, X-Men 3. You know what I mean? X-Men 1 thing. Like, I'm like, it's done, dude. Like, it's done. Logan, to me, was like the final end cap to that. Like, that did everything I wanted it to do within the context of that universe. And look, can we just go do some comic booky X-Men shit now that can be violent, but where they actually wear the uniforms? And I don't know. I'd like to see
like,
some of that
I have no interest in Marvel characters films that aren't a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, like, I haven't seen either of the reboots of Spider-Man, not Richard Garfield. I haven't seen Homecoming yet, but I intend to because it's now a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But
yeah, you're going to like
Homecoming. And so beyond just not liking the X-Men, they're not a part of the universe. So I literally have no reason to go and see those movies.
If you haven't seen Logan, you missed the best movie of the year. And I'm not saying that because I'm a comic book fan. I've seen a lot of movies this year. That's probably the fucking best movie I've seen this year.
Well, I'll go watch Logan because you recommended it. And I'll tell you what, I will say this. Candace is a big fan of Deadpool. We did go and see Deadpool. I absolutely loved it. So, I ate crow on that one. I'm very, very much looking forward to the second Deadpool movie. I think they really nail the tone. And like you said, they nail the outfits. We got two other mutants in that, well, I guess three, but we got two other mutants in that whole damn movie that were X-Men. And they looked perfect and they sounded perfect. It's just, I was very surprised. And like I said, I ate crow on that. So I'm really looking forward to Deadpool 2. But the rest of the X-Men can go pound sand. I don't care.
Well, Daisuke has a question in the chat room. He says, who's our favorite character from the X-Men? I'll let Brandon answer last. So, Bacon, who's your favorite X-Men character? Since you hate X-Men, who would be the one that you'd be like, well, is it... I'll let you answer. Who would it be?
Oh, man. Nightcrawler, I think. Nightcrawler. Because he's interesting looking. He is very conflicted as far as characters are concerned. He's a very religious character, at least was a very religious character. And let me tell you something. Catholic Nightcrawler is best Nightcrawler. I don't want to hear anything else.
Who?
Catholic Nightcrawler is best Nightcrawler. So... Like when he was a priest and he's very conflicted. He looks like a demon. It's a very interesting write into the character. So I'm going to say Nightcrawler for that reason. I'm not even religious. I just really like that character.
All right. Good call. Who is my favorite X-Men character? I'm shallow, folks. I'm a shallow guy. I always swim in the shallow end because everyone's invited. And for me, my favorite X-Men character is probably Cable, because it's a version of the Terminator. It's like, here's a guy that basically comes from a Jim Cameron future that shows up trying to prevent it. You know what I mean? And nothing can't stop. Like, I like Cable. I like all the crazy guns and the military. Like, we got to militarize the X-Men, and how that just offends Professor Xavier and Cyclops to no end. You know, like it just mortifies them. I'd say my second favorite X-Men character ever would be Beak, because he's the most useless character ever invented.
Well, that's a hell of a pick.
Yeah, and I love that his arc is so tragic. Like it's just not good. And if you've ever read the Frank Quietly, that run, the new X-Men run, where Beak and all those Zorn and all those guys appeared, Beak was just one, like that's the character, like, in a movie that they could get to play him. Who was that guy that played the Dwight character in the original Office, and he was in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies?
Oh, yeah,
That
yeah.
British dude, he's like real skinny, and he played one of the doofus pirates in the first pirate movie, right? And just you just get him, and he could be a guy that saves the day at the end of the movie, But there's a whole slew of mutants that didn't get powers; they just look fucked up. Like what do we do? We just want to live our lives, and we can't because I look like a giant fucking chicken. And like I'm into real punk rock, like, so the Sex Pistols, and I've fucking gotten, and just, I'm not smart too, like, so those are interesting. Brandon, who's your favorite X-Men character? Let's see if you can surprise me.
The best fucking one, of course, Banshee is probably one of my favorite all-time X-Men characters. I like
the Conor McGregor of the X-Men universe.
I like the Age of Apocalypse version. I like when he led Generation X. My favorite was him during and I'll butcher the name, but the Phalanx invasion, where they were taken over by those robots, those that can look like them, the shape-shifting robots. And he was the only one who didn't get taken over, and he had to just like destroy the rest of the X-Men, Bishop, Gambit, all them, the robotic versions. And then he took off with Emma Frost and just kind of fled with her. And so I thought it was pretty dope. Right up there is Wolverine. I've always loved Wolverine. Obviously, he's just the badass. If I had to pick a favorite Wolverine, it would probably either be Age of Apocalypse Wolverine, just because I like the look, and just missing a hand makes him even more dope. Or
he should have beat someone's face in with that stump.
Right.
One missed opportunity in the Age of Apocalypse was, if he had the most violent scene in that entire series, was Wolverine murdering someone with his bludgeon stump, not the claws. Like, he's like, I could use the claws, I'm gonna use the stump. Just stump you, just like. And it would have been great if it was like, not Apocalypse, but like Dark Beast or someone that, Dark Beast's a real fucker in that one. So missed opportunity.
Well, if we can pick second favorites, I'm going to put it at a tie for Apocalypse and Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister probably has the edge, but
Apocalypse is my favorite villain of all time.
He's a good villain. Villain.
The actor who played the villain in Deadpool, Francis, he was he Dario?
Ajax?
Yeah, he was Dario in
yes,
in Game of Thrones, right? And Transport. He would have made a great Sinestro, Dr. Sinister, sorry. Like a Mr. Sinister, I thought. Like his face and stuff. I thought he had like the same thing going on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no matter who would have played anybody in those movies, it would have been fucking dog shit, because they ruined Apocalypse for me.
Oh, you're talking about X-Men Apocalypse.
Was the movie that bad? Oh, man.
Bacon, I suggest, if you want to someday at work, go to the podcast from last year when I went to the Q&A. I went with Kyle. We went to the Q&A and got to listen to Simon Kinberg talk afterward. And break down what a useless... Put it this way. They could make a whole movie existing minutes after that film, and you wouldn't have missed anything. So little happens in X-Men Apocalypse of any importance that you never have to see it. It's a complete fucking waste of a movie.
Wow.
And after Days of Future Past is a complete joke. Like anything that happened in Days of Future Past is null and voided at the beginning. Kind of like, you ever see a movie called Romancing the Stone?
Yeah, I love it.
Right, it's a romance movie in the 80s with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner. Had this,
Yeah.
spoilers, they get together at the end, right? And it's a great
Yeah.
love story. It's awesome. Then they made a sequel called Jewel and Isle. And you know
Yep.
how, like, no one's friends in that movie when it starts? And they're
Yeah,
all
or like the
living.
Mummy. They get together at the end, and then in Mummy 2, it's like, oh, we're divorced. It's like, oh, thanks for doing all that shit off screen. I appreciate it, you assholes.
Yeah, they did it the third time in X-Men Apocalypse. Like when they did it in Age of Dark Days of Future Past, I get it made sense in that Wolverine has to get them to get back together. It bothered me, but they at least counteracted that. They did it again in Age of Apocalypse in terms of like Magneto. Like the whole basis of the movie makes no sense. So fucking waste of a film. And Simon Kinberg made it, owned it, like far as I'm concerned. I mean, Singer directed it, but it's I don't know, man. Like, people are like, Kinberg can't direct a movie. I'm like, he can't write one on his own much either, dude. Like, so, like, I mean, this is the guy who gave us Triple X2, the one with Ice Cube. Go watch that. And he did X-Men. He wrote X-Men 3, and like, well, he got writing credit on Days of Future Past, but that was initially set up by Matthew Vaughn and Jane Goldman. He was going to do the movie, then he left to go do Kingsman. So, Kinberg completely did Apocalypse, and it sucks. So, all right, everybody. Is there anything else we want to mention before we roll here? Is there anything in here you absolutely have to talk about?
No.
Anything else?
I'm good. I'm good.
Really quickly, I just want to get your guys' thoughts if you haven't seen this yet, because this won't take long. The new Japanese Star Wars poster for The Last Jedi appeared today. So, that's the poster right there. I don't know if Bacon's watching the stream or not, but
I am.
Oh shit, that's cool.
So a pretty cool poster. I do wish that they would just get someone like the Phil Shippers of the world to just take these layouts and then paint over them.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can't we get a painted damn poster? Like, what are we not doing that anymore?
No, the quote unquote word was someone had asked an executive. It's in the Drew Struzan book. There's an Art of Drew Struzan book. It's thin. It's not au revoir. Au revoir. It's this black one called The Art of Drew Struzan, and it's written in his own words. So it's Drew Struzan walking you through his career. And Struzan, if you don't know, is the guy who did all the original posters for like the special editions. His first poster was for Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then he did the original Revenge of the Jedi poster, and then a bunch of books and stuff. And then he did the special edition posters and all the prequel posters. And then he retired. But someone had asked, and he mentioned this. They asked an executive at this function, why don't you have Drew Struzan just do your poster? It was like for Hellboy, because he did this Hellboy poster that didn't get released. And they're like, well, it looks like a drawing.
They said that was the reason for not going for it?
It looks like a drawing. It doesn't look, because it looks like art.
That's really fucking annoying.
The book's a downer. If you want to know, the Art of Drew Struzan starts great and ends on a fuck. So Ash says, I wish they were going to do digital art posters. They would do digital paint jobs instead of copy paste. I'm with you, but marketing departments are not made up of artistic people. They're made up of people who are going to get other jobs, and they're in the marketing, and they're in charge of showing the brand. And then you have to get every person on production, every major actor has an agent, and those agents want to have approval for any image that's used by them. And when you have multiple people on a poster like this, they don't want to have to get an artist's interpretation approved, so they just get all these photos that they do, production photos, and then they can use any one of those photos because they signed that one away. So it's more than just what we think, like, oh, we just don't want art. There's other reasons that led to it. But the end result is these posters would be more timeless if they took the same compositions and then had someone who is really skilled at doing that Struzan look or whatever, or even a Bill Peak look or something, an artistic look, to go over beyond just the Mondo vector. I'm not the biggest fan of that vector look. I like the Struzan look, but that's my bias, So,
Right.
But that being said, it is a cool poster. right? I think we can all agree it looks pretty cool. The only thing that's odd to me, and let's look at this one more time, is if you zoom in, the new character that Finn's supposed to be like trotting around with, Rose, she's like way back here, dude. Was it Michelle Tran, I think is her name? Like, she's smaller than the Porg. Like, so I guess not a lot of love for that character right now. Look at Hux too, right? Hux is like way back there. So that's a little like at that point, why even put her in? Just make it red. You know what I mean? Like it's like you don't notice at first until you zoom in and go, oh, look at that. So whatever.
She's like, what if she's just like, I'm on the poster, and then she sees it. She's like, you fuckers.
She would never do that.
Is it composed to kind of look like Darth Vader?
Oh, you picked up on that?
Hey, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. It's composed. Yeah.
That's cool.
The
That's
silhouette
really cool.
is Vader's helmet. Yeah. The shadow of Vader, right? So
I didn't
clever.
realize it until you zoomed in and I saw the I don't know the name of it, but the spaceship under Leia, that kind of like that tipped me off. It's
also
neat.
on the
like
poster, really quick. Also on the poster is when I'm titling BB-8, which is the new first order version of BB-8. He's right there.
The little black guy.
Yeah, see, right there. There's the BB-8 and there's BB-8. Ooh. So there we go. And look, Brandon, there's Apocalypse right there. Ooh, Apocalypse. I bet you he's glad no one remembers he's in that movie, right?
Right.
All right, everybody, we're gonna wrap it up for this month. We'll be back. I think the next time we come back, Brandon and Bacon, are you guys gonna go see Thor this weekend?
Sure.
Oh, fuck yes.
So when we come back, next episode, we'll be talking about Thor. We'll be talking probably Stranger Things too. So if you get a chance to see that, I'll probably put that in. There'll be lots of things to talk about in another month or so. And maybe even I'll hold out so we can talk about Justice League as well. Wouldn't that be fun? We can jump into that fucking... Doesn't matter how good or bad it is. The last time I talked about a Batman movie, I got the most vicious feedback ever. People were just the Eye of Sauron turned on Rob. You know, I was like, so I gotta be careful about that. All right, everybody. That's it. Anything else? Well done.
Thanks to Ash, Dasuki, Espako,
Tiggle bitties.
Tiggo bitties, Sage. I don't think I miss anybody. Armando, John Lennon, Chad Daly, Hector, everybody for joining us on the chat. Much appreciated.
And all the bots. We appreciate you too. All right, we're out of here. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. Let me put on the end of show button.
Goodbye. It's the end of the show.
OBS wants to crash. This is so funny. Let's see if it will. Let's see if it'll crash. Nope, it worked. Okay, there we go. Goodbye. OBS. 'Cause it's free. I'll be back on in a few minutes, folks, to work on